All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Ephraim. I am starting a new segment called Real Talk Tuesdays, and today is the first segment. Now, thought it was important to just kind of set the tone for what this segment is going to be like. Now, everyone knows that I'm known for my lessons and Shabbat service, all that, right? That's not going to change. But um, recently, I just had some things going through my mind. I said, there's a lot going on in the world, and I found myself on one of my lessons last week actually kind of giving a quasi, um, you know, uh, I don't know if I would call it a I don't know what I would call it, but I find myself kind of saying, well, look, I'm coming from a perspective of a black man in America, not necessarily an Israelite, because I haven't lived my life as an Israelite, all my life. I've lived my life as a black man, though, right? So I found myself having to kind of say that as a disclaimer of sorts. And so I felt, so that made me think like, well, maybe I should start a segment to where I can just kind of speak about things that aren't necessarily based on Torah or or anything like that, and just kind of give us a platform and a day to talk about just regular stuff. Rather, it's relationships, it could be sports, it could be politics. There's no real format. Real Talk Tuesdays is just that. Whatever I feel like I want to talk about, I'm just gonna go for it, right? And we're gonna talk about it as adults. Rather, it's like I said, like it's rather it's health or relationships, politics, whatever's going on, the latest news, anything affecting us as a people, as black people here in America, right? And even abroad, even our brothers and sisters in Africa. Okay, because I have a few associates out that way in Nigeria, right? So I'm not going to confine it to just America, right? Because there's a lot going on over there too. Like I know a couple months ago we are about the SARS thing in Lagos. I mean, it was going crazy over there. They was going around killing people, man. I saw videos firsthand of that stuff, and I mean it was crazy. So I'm glad that that settled down over there, but it's real crazy over there in Lagos. So I'm going to be talking about things that affects our people all across the world. That catches my eye or my attention, and I feel that we could talk about or whatever. So again, let me just set that there's no particular format to Real Talk Tuesdays. Okay, I'm looking forward to it because I get to kind of unwind a little bit and just kind of be more of me in terms of just my insight and input on things, just as a black man in America, that's lived on this earth for a long time, right? So I have an opinion, I have insight, I speak with a certain level of wisdom by grace the Most High. So I mean, my intake on stuff, I have a really keen insight to things, right? And I say that humbly. I don't say that in a spirit of arrogance at all. But I'm just saying, I read stuff all the time. I get stuff on my news feed, like on Facebook, stuff like that, and Instagram, all that kind of stuff. I see everything. I keep my ear to the virtual streets, right? So I'm definitely in the know of what's going on and who's doing what, and all this stuff. Now I don't really get into a lot of the um gossip stuff per se. I don't get into that. I mean, but in terms of stuff that's kind of newsworthy or things of that nature, I definitely keep my ear to the street, and we're going to talk about whatever comes to my mind. You know, Speaking of which, earlier I just read that I don't know if any of you remember the rapper Trick Daddy, but he was on some format. He was on some show or some podcast, and for some reason, I don't know what the question was, or someone asked a question or whatever, but he felt it necessary to give his opinion on Jay-Z and Beyonce. Now, as an adult, you're entitled to your opinion, but just know that when you say something, you're responsible for that, right? So he went on to say that he didn't think Beyonce could really sing, and Jay-Z just basically got that whole title King of New York thing because Biggie died and everyone was looking for, someone to fill his shoes. And so pretty much Jay-Z got the nod because Biggie died, and that kind of stuff. So I'm like, whoa. Now, again, like I said, you're a grown man, grown woman. You're entitled to your opinion, okay? I mean, but in the age of the internet, and we all know, when you say something, especially, depending on how quote unquote big and powerful the person is. I mean, he got backlash like you wouldn't believe, because apparently this Beyonce has like millions, man, of followers, and supposedly they all went to his page because because Trick Daddy has a restaurant. And they all went to his page, man, and gave him a bunch of negative ratings. I mean, I'm like, wow. I mean, that's over the top. That's unnecessary. I mean, just because he has an opinion. Now, like I said, I don't share his opinion, right? As far as whether she can sing or not. I don't share his opinion. I don't. But you have to be conscious, you have to be aware, especially in the age of the internet. When you say something, you have to it can have consequences. And I don't know if many of you know, but Trick Dad, he's actually originally from Charleston, before he, moved to Miami and did his thing, so shout out to Trick on that, on being from Charleston. But, my thing is looking at it from a logical standpoint as being the quote unquote voice of reason. I've been around for a minute, right? And my thing is, regardless of what you think about Jay-Z and Beyonce, you can think whatever, you can say whatever, but what can't be denied is that from a cultural standpoint and from a musical standpoint, those two are what I would call the gold standard, for our people and our culture. I mean, they've been very successful. They've sold a lot of records. I mean, they do a lot for black people, especially Jay. He really does. I mean, I don't get into the beefs and who has issues with who. I mean, if you live long enough, a lot, somebody got some stuff to say about you. No one's squeaky clean. Whatever the case may be, especially as you reach different levels of success. It's almost as if it's a given that the more successful you become, the more enemies or perceived enemies you appear to get, right? At least that's how it seems, So I don't know, man. I mean, it's just one of those things where, you have to just be very mindful of things you say, because in the age of the internet, words definitely have consequences, especially in the spirit of all this cancel culture stuff and all that. It's like you're being crucified for daring to think for yourself, or having an opinion, or having an opinion that's independent of the masses, right? Just because everyone says or believes something doesn't mean that it's true, right? So, but I get it, right? In this age of information and the power of social media, everyone's on Twitter, everyone's on Instagram, and the older people like myself, we pretty much, Facebook or whatever, and that's just where we're at now with it, and I don't know. And I think, I think these platforms can be a good thing and a great thing. I mean, you can reach a lot of people. You can literally make virtual friends all over the world, right? Where back in the day, if you told me that one day we'll be able to log on to something and talk to someone in another country and look at each other face to face while we talk, or look at each other face to face from on a cell phone, I'd have been like, "Shh, man, what do you think? You think this is Buck Rogers?" You guys remember that? I know I'm dating myself with Buck Rogers in the 25th century. I used to come on back in the day. Oh man, but here we are, and I do remember I don't know about you, but I do remember them talking about one day we would have the technology where we can have phones. You could actually see the person you're talking to. I remember talking about that technology back in the late '80s, if I'm not mistaken. I remember them saying one day we will be able to do that. So they may have been working on that technology since way back then, right? And I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, because I mean, you don't just come up with something like that, overnight. It takes a while. It takes years to develop. You have to raise the capital to, for the technology, and develop the technology and test the technology, all that kind of stuff. So you're talking about a lot of money in a long time. So I don't doubt that they didn't have that on the burner, on the back burner for a while, as far as the technology we're enjoying, right now today. But I mean, it's sometimes, with the internet, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, right? I mean, you get, Will Smith said something very interesting, and it caught my attention. He said that, racism isn't getting worse. He said it's just getting filmed, and I was like, wow, that is profound right there. But I like what he said, because I mean, that's so true. Because we have access, right, I mean, we get news at our fingertips sometimes. I mean, it's quick, and it's good, and sometimes not so good, because like we get all the bad stuff like quick. Sometimes your timeline or your news feed is just inundated with, another black person got shot, or some little girl got kidnapped, or I mean, and if you amplify that with the world, it's like, see, before the internet, we were confined to local news, to the bad stuff that happened to our cities locally. And if a situation happened, or an incident happened that was big enough, obviously it might make CNN, and we might get to know about it like that if it's big enough. But before the internet, we didn't have access to the nation's problems or the world's problems like that, unless you were one of those types that you just kind of stayed glued to the news, right? And I was not, I was not a big news person like that. So now we're in an age where, you get access to the bad stuff from around the world, and quickly. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone is like TMZ, all these different networks, and I think somebody said that everyone wants to be the first to broadcast it, whatever the case may be, and gossip. I don't get into gossip. I don't. That whole gossip stuff, you can miss me with that. I'm not into that. I mean, I'm all about adults having real conversations about real stuff. Yeah, definitely, no doubt. But all that little schoolgirl type gossip, nah. We can talk about news. We can talk about current events. We can talk about politics and potential policies that affect our people, like this whole voting thing with the whole Voting Rights Act. I personally and humbly believe that Joe Manchin has way too much power for one man. Okay, I think that's crazy. The Democrats need to pick up some more seats to get a majority in that Senate, more than 50, because for one man to have that kind of power, it's just too much. I mean, clearly the Republicans are all across the nation are creating laws to try to suppress the black vote, or the votes of the minorities. Is going to affect mostly the minorities, even though they're not saying that. The laws, and I said that before, and I forget, someone else said that too, but it's like, that's the real power structure, the ones that make laws. Okay, it ain't so much about money and billionaire and millionaire and all this kind of stuff. It's like the people in the power, the people that have the power to make laws. And although as a people we can't make laws, but we vote on the people that makes the laws, right? So if our vote and our voice is suppressed from that standpoint, right, then the people like them, they remain in power, or and that's just what it is. So I just think that they need to definitely do something about that, because that Joe Manchin is he's a handful, and I just think that's too much power for one man to have, in my humble opinion. But it appears that I read earlier that Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer just made an agreement, right, on the Voting Rights Act. I think it's what it's called, SR. Is it SR1? I think it's SR1, I believe. So kudos on that they came together, and made that happen. Because my thing is this, hey, listen, at the end of the day, I don't care what your situation is. If you live in this country and you work, and you pay taxes, okay? You're born here, right? You're a citizen of this country, especially if you're a tax-paying citizen, right? That with that comes a level of a certain level of responsibility, a certain level of okay, listen, my voice needs to be heard, because these things are affecting our people, right? And it's the age old saying is so true. No one really cares about anything until or unless it affects them, right? And their family or their situation. And that's a sad way to be, right? Because, and I'm glad that the Supreme Court, I just found this out not too long ago, the Supreme Court upheld the Obamacare again, the Affordable Care Act, which I thought was cool because, my thing is the Affordable Care Act doesn't affect me either way. Like, I'm good, right? But I care about it because it affects a lot of people that I know. It affects people that I care about, right? Insurance premiums, before the Affordable Care Act, was extremely high. They was turning people down with previous, conditions, all this kind of stuff. And I will give Barack a salute on that, because for years the Republicans couldn't get anything done with health care, right? And hey, man, he made it happen. He did it. That's his signature piece of legislation, the Affordable Care Act, and kudos to him on that. So our people receive some collateral benefits from that, definitely. I mean, I think there's over 30-40 million people that benefit from the Affordable Care Act. So the Republicans have been trying for years. The last president, before Biden, has been trying to get the Affordable Care Act canceled or dismantled or whatever, unsuccessfully. And even though there's I think the ratio of so-called conservative to liberal judges are I believe it's, I want to say 6-4, maybe something like that, or I'm not sure, maybe 5 to maybe, wait a minute, it's 9 of them, so it can't be 6-4, it's probably 5-4. Right, because there's 9 of them. But actually, speaking of which, because they were talking about maybe expanding the Supreme Court judges to 10 or 12, and I think me personally, I think the Supreme Court should probably be adjusted to 12, because think about it. In a regular court of law, 12 people sit in the jury box to judge, right? So why don't 12 people sit on the Supreme Court that coincides with 12 people sitting in a jury box to decide a case? I believe that should line up. Right, I never understood why there was only 9 Supreme Court justices, but 12 people, sit in a jury to judge in a everyday court. I never understood that, but I think the Supreme Court should be stretched out to 12 instead of 9. Yeah, and so I keep abreast of what's going on, with the politics. Like I said, I don't get all into it like that, but I definitely I'm in the know of what's going on. I mean, you have to be, especially as an adult. You have to know what's going on, right? And shout out to the Asians who got the Asian hate bill. I mean, it didn't take them long to make that a bill at all. I just don't understand why is it taking so long to do the George Floyd legislation, or the George Floyd law that protects our people. I don't understand. Juneteenth, y'all know how I feel about that. I just did a video on that. I couldn't care less about no Juneteenth. That's not something that's tangible for us. Okay, I don't want another make me feel good type gesture. Like, I want something that's tangible, that my people, that affects my people, that we can touch. I want something, and I spoke on that, right? All that being said, and I mean, all things being equal, that's great. Juneteenth, hey, okay, cool, whatever. But can we get some legislation? Can we get something for us? I mean, Biden said, and this man said it out of his own mouth, he said that, and I'm from South Carolina, where my state literally saved Biden's campaign. We put him on the map, literally. Okay. We, and he said that he's our friend and he'll always be our friend, this and that, da da da. I was like, okay, I hear you, I hear what you're saying, right? So, and don't get me wrong, I've been checking his moves, right? I've been seeing his. I mean, he's definitely, making some nice moves here and there, whatever the case may be, However, like I said before, I'm like Flavor Flav. My vision is not blurry. I see you, Mr. President. I see you. But my people still waiting. Okay? We are still waiting. I mean, we need and want something. I'm looking at that, we talked about the whole Black Wall Street thing. I'm looking at that, right? And I think I might do a lesson on this, because it just came to my attention. I mean, I had no idea that this actually happened, man. I may do a complete lesson on this, but I just found out recently, in the spirit of the whole Juneteenth and the so-called Emancipation Proclamation, freeing the slaves, yada 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 yada. I found out, wait for it, that a lot of the slave masters, when they lost their slaves, when they had to free them, that they actually received compensation / reparations from the government. Are you freaking kidding me? If adding insult to injury was a person, that would definitely be it. I mean, can you imagine that? That actually happened. There's legislation. There's a piece of legislation that it's called, and like I said, I may do a lesson on that. So I might write that down. I may do a whole separate lesson on that one day. But I mean, can you all believe that? Did any of you know that? That white slave masters that lost their slaves because of the Emancipation Proclamation were actually compensated because they lost their quote unquote property. Wow. I mean, I was floored. I was blown away by that, So I mean, and it's not about wanting something or always talking about we want. Listen, man, our people deserve something. We've been getting shafted. We've been getting the short end for a very long time. Okay, everyone can get compensated and reparations except us. Our ancestors built this country for free, and you mean to tell me the ancestors of those people that receive the benefits from us building the country are still bidding for them today from that free labor, and we're not do something? Wait a minute. What's wrong with that picture? So, those people have what they call generational wealth, right? They've been passing down from generation to generation to their kids. What have we passed down? Poverty, right? Welfare. I mean, what we don't have generational wealth, and it's not a cop out. It's the truth. Okay. We don't own stuff. We're not. It's all about having equity and ownership in stuff. Generational wealth. Yeah, right. Right, and it's something that's not right, man. That's not cool. And before anyone jumps on the page in the comments talking about, like I said, it's not about Torah, or it's not Real Talk Tuesdays. It's just us having some real talk about some real issues that we're going through as real black people in this country and around the world, straight up. So we can kind of we can proverbially let our hair down, right? That's what Real Talk Tuesdays is about. 'Cause that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of flowing. This is what it is. Real Talk Tuesdays. Speaking my mind. You can speak yours. Respectfully, of course. But hey, we're all adults, right? And that's what I'm doing. So there's no. I mean, you talk about generation wealth. I mean, I know many of you remember the Great Depression, right? Well, do you know the main reason for the Great Depression? Well, there are several reasons, but the main reason for the Great Depression of the 1920s was the fact that the disproportion of wealth was so great, it literally caused this nation to capsize. I mean, really. In other words, rich to poor people. Rich people were top heavy, and there were way too much poor people. The money wasn't trickling down. That Reaganomics trickle down, that Reaganomics trickle down effect didn't happen. Reaganomics sucked. For those of you on my age or close to it that remember the Reagan era, the Reagan era sucked for black people. It really did. I mean, there are places in New York City that look like a freaking third world country, man. I mean, it was that bad, you know. And I'm not even gonna talk about when crack hit in the 80s. That's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother time. But anyway, my people, this is my first official Real Talk Tuesdays, and whatever you heard me talk about or whatever you want to comment on, feel free to comment in the section. And I hope this will be a successful segment for us on Tuesdays. Kind of, you know, make it interesting. I don't want to, you know, because I didn't want it to get boring, right? So hopefully Real Talk Tuesdays will pump some new life into our movement over here, right? So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you guys will know when I upload a new video or lesson or Shabbat service or in my Real Talk Tuesdays now from this day forward. So until the next time, this is Dr. E signing off. So you guys have a good evening. I'll talk with you later.